How does a man really feel when he's inside you? I'm gonna warn you, I will answer this question, but in very graphic detail. Because for us, being inside you is not simply about climax. It's really about the whirlwind of emotions that we feel beforehand, during, and afterwards that men will never in a million years admit to you. Which is exactly why on today's show, I'm gonna be exposing just that. From pursuit, fear, the spin, logic, stashing gold, guarding gold, and even wholeness. By the end of this show, when he's inside you, you'll be able to look into his eyes and know exactly what he's really thinking, even better than he does. What you need to understand is men have a mirror. When they look into the mirror, the psychological mirror, the spiritual mirror, they see themselves. They build an identity of who they are through what they see in this mirror. Now, the interesting part about this mirror is that this mirror is actually not controlled by him or what he's doing. This mirror is controlled by you and how you respond to that man. See, between your actions, your responses, whether you sleep with him, you don't, whether you choose him, whether you don't, that's going to create a lot of validation within him, okay? That validation, in turn, is going to help him build his identity. If I were to say, I'm a ladies' man, I tell my boys, I tell other people, my family, yeah, I'm a ladies' man. That's just the personality I have. The women, they attracted to me, they're all up on me, they're always into me. What am I really basing that identity on? I'm not basing it on what I think of myself. I'm basing it on what other women think of me based on how they respond to me. So when we start off with desire, even before I actually sleep with you, I'm desiring you, not even in the sense of, hey, I need pleasure. I'm desiring the acceptance from you. And I'm also desiring the validation that I'll receive from you when I finally do sleep with you, because that's going to be a confirmation of my own value, right? And my own desirability as a man. And I'm always going to be pursuing, which we'll talk about pursuit in a little bit. I'm always going to be pursuing that validation because it's tied to what I believe about myself. When I'm pursuing you, I'm always looking for clues in order to confirm that validation, right? I need that validation from you in order to build my identity. So there's certain things that I'm going to use along the way in order to confirm that, hey, you like me, you accept me, you validate me, even outside and before I actually sleep with you. Those things can come in a physical sense. They can also come in your words, right? So when you say things like, I like you, I need you, that validates me. Also, when you do things like, and we're going to get a little bit graphic here, right? If we're doing something sexual and you moan, that's also going to validate me because that's going to express to me that you're enjoying this, you like being here, that this experience is good for you, and I'm also doing my job as a man. Not just that I'm doing my job, but also this is going to sound weird, conquering you. We're going to talk about this really deep-rooted hunting mindset in a little bit as well, right? And also, even in your touch. All of these things I'm pursuing in the process of pursuing you and eventually sleeping with you because I'm using these things to confirm my belief that you have accepted me, that you have validated me through the fact that you are allowing me to have access to you. I always say the word access because access is supposed to encompass everything that is you and your being. So not just what's in between your legs, but also your mind, also your energy, also your spirit, also your attention, your entire being. I want to have access to. You're the only one with the keys to give me that validation and ensure to me that I actually have had full access to your being. There is an inherent fear that men have when they're inside you. Now, they might not necessarily express this fear, but this fear exists. Remember how I talked about earlier with the desire to be validated and to be accepted by you because you hold the keys, you hold the cards. You control how I see my own identity. I can't see myself as a valuable man and then I don't get accepted or I don't get access to women. You see how powerful you are in that scenario. Now, as it relates to identity, even when I'm inside you, I'm still looking for that validation even in other ways. I also have a fear of rejection even throughout the process of me pursuing you. So leading up to my initial desire for you and my initial desire to be validated by you, and in the process of my pursuit of you, I'm constantly in a state of psychological fear. Now, I don't mean fear in the sense that like you're going to hit me or you're going to push me off a cliff or something like that. I'm talking about the psychological fear of what if I do pursue her and she communicates to me, whether in the fact of her words that she doesn't want me, rejecting me, not giving me her number, not wanting to talk to me, not texting me back, or in the sense of her actions, meaning when we're finally in the act, she doesn't seem to be enjoying herself. Maybe she looks uncomfortable. Maybe she's like just not into it. She's out of it, right? I have fear that when I try to validate myself through you in the act of sleeping with you, I'll actually realize that I'm not as amazing as I think I am, which will then in turn change my identity, right? Remember, because identity is so important. The identity that I build or I'm building of myself and who I am in relation to how women respond to me, that will be shattered. Because if I'm building my identity as, oh, I'm a ladies' man, the women love me, the women are attracted to me because I'm such a valuable, resourceful, useful man, and then you don't respond to me in the way that a woman would respond to a man who is valuable, useful, and resourceful, now my identity is crushed, or at least it has to be adjusted to fit and understand this new narrative. Also, this fear comes from, and the reason that I drew this, is that maybe the real reason that you aren't responding to me in the way that I would hope you would respond to me in the act of us being so intimate. I have this deep-rooted fear that in the process of building my identity, that I'm him, as the kids say, that I'll realize through your response to me that I'm actually not him. That someone else exists in your life, in your history, in your past, or just in general, that is bigger, stronger, smarter, and more capable than me. This inherent fear is always kind of cycling through the back of my mind. So as I'm pursuing you and I'm saying things to you and I'm interacting with you, I'm hoping to validate myself in the fact that I am this person. I want to be this guy in your life because I want you to need me, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. I need you to need me in order to validate myself. So I fear the fact that in the process of me validating myself, that you will not need me because there is someone better than me, whether it be in the way that you say it or the way that you act or respond during the act of actually us being together and being intimate together, or in the way you act and respond afterwards. I'm always looking and gauging your responses to me to gauge what my value is to myself, okay? The reason I want to discuss what I'll describe as this, guys won't explain it to you, but you'll experience it through his actions towards you. You might be a little bit confused because you might be like, where is this stemming from? But I'm gonna explain to you exactly where this is stemming from. What I call the spin is when guys will sleep with you, and in the process of sleeping with you, they might realize that this didn't go how I thought it would go. I didn't get the response from you that I thought I would get. It doesn't seem like this was really pleasurable for you. You seem to be a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I was smaller than you were anticipating. Maybe it just overall wasn't as enjoyable. But then remember, I have to build an identity around how you respond to me. And if I'm going to build an identity around how you respond to me, I kind of need you to respond in a particular way in order for my identity to be what I want it to be, which is that I'm the man, I'm the biggest, strongest, most capable hunter alive. We don't hunt deer anymore, but we still have this desire to feel like the biggest, strongest, most capable hunter in all of the land. Because back when we were cavemen, the biggest, strongest, most capable hunters were the highest priority, I guess, right? Or the highest ranking in the tribe. So we're always competing with other men through your validation in order to feel like we're high up ranking on that hierarchy, right? But sometimes if we don't validate ourselves through you because of the experience we're having through you, maybe we're not doing the right thing, maybe we approached it wrong, maybe we didn't say the right things, right? Or we're just not as capable as we thought we were. Some men will start to spin the narrative in their own mind. And in the process of them spinning the narrative, this is what can happen emotionally. This whirlwind of emotions can start saying, well, you don't think about the fact that maybe this connection isn't where it is. Maybe you're not as capable as you thought you were. Let's just ignore that. We have to build this new narrative. Oh, she loves you. You're amazing. You're awesome. You're conquering the world. But in the process of you having this narrative, I also need to ignore reality. Ignore reality in the sense that I need to convince myself, right, through the process of not speaking to her, not addressing her, not getting real information about her experience or our connection or our intimacy, because I need this narrative that she does need me, she loved it, it was amazing for her, to play in my mind over and over again. But if I talk to her, I'm going to be forced to face the reality that maybe I didn't live up to my own expectations. And maybe the identity of who I'm trying to build in my mind doesn't match up with who I am in reality. But as long as I ignore her and ignore this reality, then I never have to face that music, as the saying goes, or face that actual reality, that truth. And so sometimes when guys are trying to spin the narrative in their own mind, they'll respond to you cold and distant because they need to have this identity solidified in stone in what their understanding of who they are themselves. I want us to talk about the concept of purpose for men. Because men are always going to be driven to feel a sense of purpose in anything that they do. Especially in their relationships, they need to feel a sense of purpose. So how does a man feel purpose in terms of intimacy? He feels purpose by feeling needed, okay? If I'm needed as a man, then I'm more purposeful. Men have a need to feel needed in general, but especially when it comes to intimacy, that's the ultimate way for them to feel needed. Not just that you like or enjoy sleeping with them, but it's something that you have to have in your life. The connection is so amazing, it's so awesome that you can't imagine yourself with anyone else. I need to feel needed. It gives me a sense of purpose because for me as a man, through my resourcefulness, through the fact that people need me, through the fact that I'm valuable because of how much I have to offer that other people would in turn need me, that's how I feel a sense of purpose that makes me feel fulfilled. That's why we always say with men, it's always about actions and getting them to do things for you, because that's how they actually feel a sense of purpose, bonding and connection to you. When I say feeling useful, I'm talking about feeling like I have to actually be there in order for you to get the benefit in this life of whatever it is that I'm giving to you. In this case, when I'm sleeping with you, the pleasure, the connection, the intimacy, the bond, right? This is a really confusing part of the emotions that men will go through because you're like, wait, why didn't you think of this before? Why are you just thinking about this now? After he climaxes, okay? Can I say? After he climaxes and he finishes the process of pursuing that validation, okay? It actually doesn't end there. The validation doesn't end there, but we come to a new crossing roads. This new crossing roads is when the man has to decide to himself, okay, I've now released and gotten rid of this burning desire to pursue this validation because I've gotten some of it by actually sleeping with her now. Now that I've gotten rid of some of that need to be validated through that, I also have another part of my brain that's thinking logically and is asking myself, am I ready to do more than just pursue that validation in a short way, or am I not ready? Now, here's where things become confusing because some men will be thinking about this before they actually go through the whole process of sleeping with you from the very beginning, because they will have understood within themselves what are they ready for, what's important to them, what do they want in a long-term partner, even outside of their desire for them to sleep with them and be intimate with them, what do they want in a woman, and they'll select the woman that fits that criteria. Then in the process of sleeping with them, once this logic kicks in, it will all be the same as he was thinking about beforehand, and he won't have some sort of drastic change within his actions or the way he's reacting or responding to you. But then we'll have the men who are not ready. And a lot of times what happens is this stems from the trauma, because remember I talked to you at the beginning about identity, and I talked to you about how men need you, we need you to build our own identity of who we are as men. But what happens is if in our childhood we had a little bit of a breaking of our own self-worth and our own self-esteem, imagine instead of starting from zero and building up as a child, you're starting from negative 100,000, and how it's kind of like a sinkhole or quicksand that's just sinking lower and lower as you stand in it more. And the reason I say that is because that void, right, manifests itself because now when I validate myself through you by sleeping with you, instead of it fulfilling me, satisfying me, and making me ready to build something more with you, right, because now I'm thinking with my logical brain, I now feel a sense of, Yeah, I feel a little bit of validation from her and from sleeping with her, but I need more validation. It's not enough validation. I need to go out and sleep with another woman because even though she validated me by sleeping with me, even though it was good, even though we enjoyed each other's company, I still need more because it's about the validation. See, this is the thing that women find very confusing, right? Because they think it's all about the pleasure. Oh, the men, they just want to climax. Oh, the men, that's all that they think about. They think with their head, they're only thinking about that. But in reality, they're not actually even pursuing the pleasure. Because if you think about it, if they were pursuing the pleasure, right, they would continue sleeping with you over and over again. Why do they even bother not just continuing to receive that same pleasure over and over again? Why do they bother sabotaging it by not talking to you, by ignoring you, by ghosting you, by stop texting you, stop answering your calls? Why do they bother doing that if pleasure is the most important thing? Because it's not. Validation is the most important thing. And after he receives that validation and he uses that to help build his identity, if he has a void within him where even though you're giving him validation, he still needs more validation, you'll never be able to satisfy him no matter how much you guys sleep with each other. Because the only way for him to get a new hit of validation is to sleep with a new woman. So this is where you have these, I guess we can say here, we'll call them conflicting emotions. This is also where you'll have a lot of men seem to become distant from you, or seem to not be the same, or seem to be a little bit confused. And you'll wonder to yourself, where is this confusion stemming from? Because you seemed so sure before you were going to sleep with me, leading up to you sleeping with me. Now that you have slept with me, you seem to be really confused about what's important to you and what you want. Because when this logic kicks in, now they really have to start thinking about why are they here? What are they trying to extract from this experience? Really and truthfully, the men who are very, very confused during this time, it's usually because they haven't thought to themselves what they're even trying to extract from this experience. And they've just been pursuing that validation so hard that they never even bothered to think about what they're trying to receive from this experience. Remember how I said there's really two ways to go once you have that logical part of your emotions in your brain kick in after sleeping with the woman. Then you get to a point where now you really have to decide what action are you going to take based on what road or decision you want to make. Some men will stash their gold. You are the gold. When I say stash your gold, let me know in the chat here. Have you ever been with a guy and you slept with him, and then, it kind of fizzles out after you sleep with him? And then after it fizzles out, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks afterwards, right? A while afterwards, he'll hit you up randomly, send you a message, but he won't even say anything after he sends you that message. For example, he'll say something like, hey, what's up? I missed you so much. You'll be shocked when you look at the message. You'll be like, what? This guy's messaging me? I thought this guy was ghosting me. I thought it was over now. And then after he ghosts you, right, and he sends that message, you'll respond thinking that, okay, maybe he realized he made a mistake. Maybe he wants me now. Maybe he wants to talk to me. You'll talk to him, right? You'll respond to that message, and then he won't respond again. He doesn't say anything. And then you're wondering, wait, I don't understand. Why did he reach out to me? Why did he message me? Go out of his way to message me? I didn't say anything to him, only for him to not respond to me. Okay? That can be very confusing. I call that stashing your gold. Because what men are trying to do when they do that is they're trying to revalidate themselves through you, but this time, right, instead of pursuing the act of sleeping with you, since they've already slept with you, they don't need to get that type of validation, right? The type of validation they're just seeking is that my gold is still intact in my stash. Think of yourself as the gold, and think of this check-in as him checking in to see, is my stash still safe? Will I still be able to receive validation through her? Does she still want me? Does she still want to be with me? Does she still accept me? Will she still give me access to her? Remember, access is your whole being. And as long as you can confirm to me that you'll still give me access to you, that's all I need in my mind to validate myself and build my own identity of who I am. And so the reason I want you to be thinking about this is because I want you to remind yourself of this if you ever come into an encounter with a situation like this where a guy is essentially stashing you as gold, where even if he's not pursuing sleeping with you anymore, he's pursuing receiving validation from you so he can continue building up his own identity of who he is. And I want you to understand how powerful you are in that process, because without your validation, even if you're not sleeping with him after you sleep with him, you still can end up giving him that validation he needs to build it himself up, okay? The other way that this can work is that instead of stashing the gold, he guards the gold. Now, this comes from the men who are actually ready and have been thinking logically since before their initial desire, right, for you and for your validation. And then after they sleep with you, they realize that the pursuit of this relationship and the pursuit of you as a whole being, as a whole individual, as a whole spirit is such an important part of his life and such an amazing part of his life that rather than stash you away and just check in on you every now and again, he's going to value you and also protect you in the process of the fact that he knows that this is such an amazing experience, this is such a valuable experience to him and you, this is such an amazing bond and connection that he doesn't want anyone to have access to this gold, to what he deems to be very valuable. Now, obviously, this is what we want men to be doing. This is what we would hope would happen within a man's mind and within his emotions, right? A lot of times, depending on where he is beforehand, mindset-wise, can also drastically change how he responds when you guys finally do sleep together. And one of the things you need to be thinking about is where he is mindset-wise before sleeping with you. Because it's really gonna, I guess we can say, the same way you have the saying that money will just amplify whatever personality you have, right? Already is the same way sleeping with the man will just amplify whatever intentions, mindset, or emotions he already had before you. If he was a toxic guy who was just seeking validation and always just running through girls in order to validate himself, when he sleeps with you, he will be 10 times that. If he's a guy who has, direction in his life, who knows what he wants, who knows what's important to him, he's going to be 10 times that after he sleeps with you. But understanding where he is in his mindset, in his spirit, in his life, right, in his career, are all the important parts of understanding what emotions he's going to go through while he's actually sleeping with you. Because yes, all men are going to have that fear. Yes, all men are going to have that feeling of I might be inadequate and I might not be good enough. And they're going to use you to validate themselves. But even after that, it's going to change their response depending on what their mindset has been since before that. For us as men, there is only so far we can go to make ourselves feel whole. Okay? When I say feel whole, I'm talking about feel complete spiritually, feel complete mentally, feel complete as a man. Even in our identity as a man, we can't define what we are as men without first understanding who you are as women and how you fit into our identity, because you are a part of that. The reason I'm talking about this idea, this concept, is because I want you to see how much power you're wielding simply by validating a man, once by sleeping with him, but also leading up to that by validating him through your words, through your actions, through the way that you respond to him. And I want you to see how important that is to a man to even feel like a man. Because when you realize that, and you realize that this right here is all you, right? Meaning you're the only one that can fill this space, this void here. Rather than approaching your relationships with a whole bunch of anxiety and approaching your relationships feeling like you need to be in fear of men running away from you, I want you to remind yourself that man will never be able to feel like a man until you give him validation. Now, sure, he can become in this toxic cycle where he's running to all types of women all the time for constant validation 24/7. But I want you to remind yourself, if you don't give him that validation, he will never be able to feel whole from you. And if he's not able to feel whole from you, then he's not going to be able to take that, build up his own ego, and use that confidence to go and pursue someone else, because I know that's what's happening to a lot of you in these scenarios, right? And I want you to also understand how much power you wield when you're interacting with a man. Don't go on your dates with anxiety that, oh my God, I need to be this for this man. I need to show him this. I need to scrub the floor. I need to do. No, remind yourself, he's the one that needs me to build his own identity of who he is. I can actually build up my own identity, invest in myself, and the men will still pursue me because of their desire to represent who they are through me. So what does that mean? You have to guard your validation with your life. I'm not just talking about opening your legs and allowing a man to sleep with you. I'm also talking about being able to validate him through the spiritual, through the mental, through the things that you say. I'm not saying you never validate a man. I'm not saying you never compliment him. I'm not saying you never give him that. But what I am saying is be protective of that and understand how powerful that is. And understand that's really what men are pursuing when they're pursuing you. So when you're wondering why, when you show men exorbitant amounts of love and you're all over him and you're smothering him, why they don't seem to respond well, or they just seem to take that and leave, it's because you're validating them so much, they don't even have a desire to receive more from you. They become overly satisfied and overly satiated with the fact that they're receiving so much validation from you. They're building their identity so well through you that they don't even need everything else that comes with it. In fact, they're like, hey, I'm extra full. I could take some away, right? I'm so full that I could turn some down.